Happy Monday. How's it going, everyone? Let's call this one the one in the pajamas. Because that's what I'm wearing right now. It has been a week, shall we say. Let's get started. I'm Leah. I am Pygmy Tiger Knits on Instagram. I am an avid knitter, mother, wife, friend, crafter, maker of many things. And this is my podcast. Let me adjust my camera here just a little bit. So this week was full of knitting, but also lots of shenanigans. My husband, whom I love very dearly, it was his turn to take a mancation with a bunch of his buddies, and they went to an island on Lake Huron called Drummond Island. It's in the Upper Peninsula, Michigan. I'd show you, but I'm one-armed here. It's kind of like much further east of Mackinac Island, and you do have to take a ferry to it, but you can drive on it. And him and 5 of his buddies went for 5 days and had a ball, and I'm so glad for that because he works really hard. He needs a break too. I was at home with all of our children for 5 days, which was okay, except for on Saturday where I'm in a sling here. I was trying to be a fun mom and went back down to my hometown, took my kids, and went for a golf cart ride and had lunch with my dad and my aunt and my dad's girlfriend, Karen. And then we went swimming because taking 3 kids swimming without 3 adults would not be very good. So they came to help me with the kids and to enjoy and have some fun. And the pool was very fun. It was very hot in the 90s, so the pool was definitely mandatory. And all of my kids loved the pool. It was really fun. I really need to get them in swim lessons. I've been really dropped the ball on that. I used to be a swim instructor, so I know how vital and important it is. So playing and whatever, and I honestly don't know what happened. I dove off the diving board at one point, and I did kind of like a scorpion where your feet kind of like bend back over your head a little bit, and that hurt really bad. And was like kind of swim limping to the side of the pool where I did some deep breathing to breathe through it. And it felt, it took a minute or two, but I started feeling better. And then my shoulder didn't hurt at that point. Hi, Charlie. My shoulder didn't hurt at that point. And then when it was time to get out, I bent down to pick up Maggie, my youngest, from my dad out of the pool. And that's when I noticed that my shoulder was really hurting. And I don't know if it happened when I was picking her up because it was kind of a funky position. I don't know. But the whole rest of the day and all night long, my shoulder really started giving me some major pain. Couldn't get comfortable. Kept going, all the fun faces and noises, and made a makeshift sling out of one of Maggie's muslin receiving blankets and called my doctor at about 6 in the morning, the on-call. And luckily, my doctor was the one who was on call, and I got to talk to her, and she told me that I needed to go to urgent care. Not the ER, just urgent care. And so I went, and the doctor there thinks that I sprained my shoulder, my bicep muscle, which I guess connects right here. And this, where's the spot? This spot right here. This spot. Ooh. Yeah, that spot. And then back here on my back. Charlie. Hurts really bad. So he thinks I sprained it. They did x-rays, so we know my bones are okay. But now it's just a waiting game. And if it starts to feel better, then we know it was a sprain. And if it continues to hurt and not get better, then it's most likely I tore something, and further imaging will be needed. So that threw a little wrench into the rest of my weekend. So thank goodness for Dad and Karen, because they drove up and kept the kids while I went to urgent care and then fed them for me and took care of them for a little bit so I could ice my shoulder and rest for a while. But I just kind of have the mentality of, regardless if I hurt my shoulder, no matter what I did to it, I still have to function, and I still have to be a mom, and I still have to take care of my kids and my family. However, folding laundry is proving quite difficult, and cooking, because I can't really cut things with my arm in a sling, And it does hurt quite significantly to just like let my arm dangle and lift up my arm from like any kind of like this movement. It hurts really, really bad. So, but I was able to feed my children and get them dressed and get them to school today. And I took my oldest and youngest with me to go get my x-ray, and I was able to get the stroller out of the car without hurting myself. Luckily, the x-ray tech was very, very, very kind, and she offered to help me out to the car, and she even put the stroller into the car. So that was, thank you. It's nice to have kind people out in the world who see somebody who could use a little bit of help and offer to help. I hope I am like that. I believe I'm like that, and I hope my kids end up being like that. Definitely explaining things to Edie and such. But good news, I can still knit. Because my shoulder, I don't move my shoulder when I knit. So I'm not necessarily knitting as long as I usually like to. I'm doing a little bit more reading the last couple of days and knitting, 20, 30 minutes here and there between icings. So I take it out of the sling and I prop up my arm on a shoulder and I'm just on the pillow. I'm just kind of knitting like this. Because I was like, man, I really wanted to get this pair of socks done. So on to FOs, which I have in one of my handy dandy Christmas knitting bags. My friend Jessica, her mom, likes these bags and was like, hey, do you have a pattern? And I was like, no, I don't. She expressed interest in wanting to make one for herself because she is also a knitter and weaver and quilter. She does all the things too. So I will work on that. Maybe some sort of video tutorial or something if I can figure it out, since I do know how to, slightly edit a video now because, naked toddlers running into the background. You can't put that up. So I have very poor editing skills. Got to figure out how to add like subtitles and stuff still. But I have the base, that simple basic of merging two. So maybe video will be in the coming weeks. I didn't want to miss podcasting tonight, though, so I'm here in my jammies, my nice new soft jammies from Target. These are comfy. This is like a long shirt jammy from Target. I did get my cousins to come up and babysit my kids one night while Brenton was gone, because five full days in a row of 100% mommy duty is kind of a lot. So I built in a little break for me, and I took myself to the movies and out for ice cream, and then I went to Target to purchase new sports bras, which were badly needed, especially with cardio drumming, and fell in love with these super soft jammy tops, so bought these. So the first FO, I finished these just plain vanilla Christmas socks. These are from My Nails Match. Ooh. These are from Chelsea Lux Yarns in her Holly Berry Christmas colorway. Super pretty. Very moody drama Christmas. So I did those. This base is wonderful. So those were first. And then I got yarn in the mail. Yay. And that was from The Wool Baron that I talked about last week. And I just had to knit these right away because I was in the mood for like a non-Christmas sock, if that makes sense. Like the Cozy Knitter Advent skeins are really fun because they're not necessarily traditional Christmas colors and the stripies, and this had that vibe. So this is her colorway called Ugly Sweater Party. So fun. Like, I mean, look at this. I think it counted like 18 or 20 different colors. I don't remember here. Let's count real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 20. Yeah, 20 different colors. And my favorite section is this section right here. Kind of reminds me of like My Little Pony. Very much in love with those. So these are really fun. I finished these today while I was at the nail salon getting a mani-pedi because mommy needed a little bit of break after daddy got home, especially with my shoulder. So yeah, I got my new nail color. I'm very much in the mood for fall. I would really like the temperature to get lower. I keep checking the weather like as far as it goes on the app. Be like, when are we getting to 60-degree temps? When are we getting there? So I guess in the next 10-day forecast, we're going to, I think the lowest I saw was only 77. So I'm like, okay, guys, got to work on that. So not one pair of socks, but 2 pairs of Christmas socks this week. Booyah. And don't ask me what number I'm on. I'm in the high teens now, like 18, 19, somewhere in there. All right, so that is all of the FOs this week. You know, that's a lot though. Like 4 whole pairs of socks, long socks, that's a lot. Something else I was working on this week, as I've mentioned before, been a quilter since I was probably 5 and 6 when my mom started teaching me color theory. And she had all these, like, you know when you go to the furniture store and they have the fabric sample books? She had a bunch of those. I don't know where she got them, if they were like old ones, they were donated, or something she snagged from Girl Scouts that the leader wasn't going to use. I don't know. But we used to always go and cut those up and sew them together. And I used to make bags, which was essentially just cutting one of them out, folding it in half, and sewing along the 2 sides. You couldn't fit anything in these bags. But, you know, I just had fun sitting at the sewing machine and pushing the pedal down as hard as it would go and watching my mom's machine bounce with the speed. I guess I never knew this, that she did this, but there's like an adjustment she could make on her Bonita to make the max speed less, which she had to do for me. So one of my absolute favorite quilts that my mom made is this beautiful quilt. It's a double Irish chain pattern in just 2 colors. And this was one of my absolutely favorite fabrics in my mom's stash growing up. I used to go through her stash and pick out things, and this was one of my favorites. So when she made this quilt and she said it was hers, I was like, because I love suns and moons and stars. That still do. Actually, my room theme in that house growing up was suns, moons, and stars. So, you know, this just kind of migrated to my room. And of course, it's migrated everywhere I have lived and has become mine. Well, I guess, you know, I'm getting mine because my eldest, Edie, is completely obsessed and in love with this quilt. She stole it from me and sleeps with it all the time. And this quilt is probably close to 25 years old, give or take a year or 2. And she always brings it to me. Not always. It's happened 3 times now. Mom, there's a hole in my star blankie. Mom, there's a hole in my star blankie. So first, I was like kind of stumped. Like, okay, what am I going to do with this hole? I have another quilt that I've made that also has holes that I have put in a closet. And I'm like, I don't know what to do with that. How do I fix it? How do I repair it? Because, you know, quilts cost, number one, a lot of money and a lot of time and effort. Plus, I still really like it. So what to do? So there's a woman on Instagram. She's called Book-Hou, B-O-O-K, and then H-O-U. And she's a fabulous maker. And she has this book called Visible Mending. And I follow her. So basically, it kind of just like takes the stigma of patching away and like decides to make the patch a highlight. Make it, Charlie, quit bumping on the camera. Make it a highlight of the object and honor the object. Like a patch isn't a bad thing. It shows that it's a well-loved, well-used object. And it honors the object because you want to keep doing it. And it just adds to it and essentially makes it more beautiful with the patches on it. And Sashiko, I don't know if anybody knows what that is. Sashiko is a Japanese method of mending and patching and stitching onto objects. And traditionally it's like with an indigo color fabric and white thread. And seeing all the stitches. And people will put a patch on and then do the Sashiko stitches on top of it to highlight. And it makes it more beautiful. It gives it another life. So the fact that my mom made this quilt and used it and loved it, and then I took it and it became mine, and now my daughter has taken it and it has become hers. And the fact that my mom made it and I am the one mending it and patching it for my daughter, it's just like this multi-generational creation artwork, and I really love it. And the patches just make it, to me, just all the more beautiful. So I have lots of patches now on this. So here's one. And they range in size and shape. And I decided when I was choosing the colors for patches and the fabrics to really make them bright so that way they stood out. So you did notice them and liked them. So this is one of the ones, like these two are ones I just added. Let's see, I think there's another one down there. So it's been really fun. Now it just needs a good wash. And then also the binding on this had become worn and was splitting. So I went with Edie in my fabric stash and we picked out a bunch of different fabrics we liked. And I cut and sewed a new binding and attached it. And then I trimmed off the old binding and hand stitched this one on. So now this quilt just has a lot of hand touches from me and my mom. And I just love it. I love that it's becoming bright. And Edie's so cute. She's so grateful and sweet. She goes, "Oh, thank you, Mom. Thank you so much for fixing my star blankie." She's so cute. You know, little 4-year-old logic. It's so funny. Like, they all come into my bed in the morning when they wake up. And it was Saturday, so I let them watch a little bit of TV snuggled in because I wanted to continue resting for a little bit before we got going. And Edie said, it was before I let them turn on the TV, she said, "Oh, Mom, my tummy is telling me something." And I'm like, "Yeah? Do you need to go potty?" "No." "Okay, well, are you hungry? It is the morning. It's getting close to breakfast time." "No, that's not what my tummy's telling me." I'm like, "Oh, well, what is your tummy telling you?" And she says, "I think my tummy's telling me I need to watch TV." Just, God, they're creative. And she's now pulled that line every day since. Crazy kid. So, anyway. So, the week before last, I got to go down to my hometown and visit with my great aunt Marilyn. She's going to be 85 here in I think another month. And my grandma and Aunt Marilyn, their husbands were brothers. But they all grew up, well, I didn't grow up. They all ended up all buying houses on this one road. There was like, I don't know, an obscene amount of siblings in this family. I want to say like 12, I think. So a lot of the siblings had all bought houses all next to each other. So growing up trick-or-treating, we'd go to the street and we knew everybody. So, but my grandma, my nanny, sadly passed away when I was in elementary school. But thankfully, Great Aunt Marilyn is still kicking it and around. And so I took the girls and we went and visited with her and had lunch and shared some stories. And hopefully I'll get to go back shortly and go through her pictures because sadly I don't have a lot of pictures of my nanny. My aunt had a fire and a lot of pictures were lost. So huge bummer. But I decided Aunt Marilyn needs some socks. She needs some hand knit socks. And it's her granddaughters who came and watched my kids the other night. So I had them pick out some yarn for her. And I hope she doesn't watch my podcast. Aunt Marilyn, if you do, you have socks coming your way. So this really, really just so much depth to this yarn. These awesome turquoise, teal, green speckles. This is from Spun Right Around, one of my absolute favorite dyers. I've been following her for years. Like, I've been following her at the original when she used to hand do her labels. That's how long I've been with Renee. This is her 80/20 base, which is amazing. Like, I've had socks I've knit out of this base, and they've held up for several years now. I think one pair I knit on my honeymoon, and we just had our 6th wedding anniversary. So this is her wrecked colorway. It was one of her Halloween colorways a couple years ago. I'll be very excited to get the Halloween mini skeins here shortly. Hopefully, I don't know when she's sending them. If we're going to be getting them in October or if we're going to be getting them in September. So I pulled that yarn for her. I was trying to think of, okay, what socks do I want in my Christmas queue next? So I have the Moody ones, and I thought I really want to get started on my Selbu socks. So this is the pattern from Knitography Farm Designs by Patricia Ann Fortune. And this is actually a book. There's, let me see, how many? 7 different designs in here. I think I'm going to do design number 1 out of my yellow and cream. Actually, yeah, just like this picture. I think I'm going to do this one. But she does have an online class. So you buy the class and you get into videos and you can do live Zoom stuff. All kinds of stuff. So I have to get on that. So that's going to be in the docket. So I printed this off. And if you guys don't know, you can just go to Staples and they'll bind it for you. You can even email it to them and they'll print it on better paper. Usually I print it on heavier cardstock when I know I'm going to be binding it into a book like this. But for some reason it wouldn't go through. So, oh well. In other news, I finished my book, The House in the Cerulean Sea. It was amazing. It is more of like a teen lit, but I did really enjoy it. It's about, I talked about it before, a couple of podcasts ago. It's about magical creatures and almost kind of like Holocaust-ish, and where they're all registered and orphans and children are put into orphanages and schools and registered and managed through the government and all this kind of thing. And this gentleman who inspects these places and makes sure they're safe and things like that ends up going out to this one with these highly specialized, rare, and deemed dangerous magical youth. And what happens? It was really good. I would definitely highly recommend it. Other book stories, movies I like. I really love murder mysteries. I love comedies. I like rom-com. I like documentaries. I like all kinds of stuff. So I do really love like Sherlock Holmes and stuff like that. And if you watched on Netflix, they had they've had one movie called Enola Holmes, which is the younger sister of Mycroft and Sherlock. And so I didn't know that it was a book, and I had picked it up. And this is a little bit young. This is more like, I don't know, probably a sixth grader. It says for 8-year-olds and up. But I was just like, I was in the mood for something light and whatever. So I'm only a couple chapters in, but it is really cool. It's cute. All right. Next, acquisitions. I have a couple yarny acquisitions and a couple tulle acquisitions. So my next colorway from Night Owl Fibers is out. Now I think she does do a monthly club, maybe. If not, she at least does at least 2 new colorways a month themed off of, one is off of Gilmore Girls and the other is off of Friends. So I do tend to check in every month and see what her next color is. So it's nice because she tells you what it is, shows you, so you know what you're getting. This one is, of course, another Gilmore Girls colorway, although I really do like the Friends colorway this month, which is the episode where Chandler has to pee on Monica because she was stung by a jellyfish. The colors in that are really great. But I like this one just because I do love Gilmore Girls, and this one's inspired by the Dragonfly Inn. All these fun purples, and like, it almost looks green right now, but it's more like a gray cream. So I got that, and this base is yummy to knit with. My other acquisitions, I've been very curious about DK weight socks. You know, kind of more of a slipper feel, a little bit more cozy on your feet, maybe even a little bit warmer for just a day where you know you're not going anywhere, or maybe you're outside playing in the snow and you're all chilly and you want to come in and change your clothes and put on comfy sweats and drink some hot cocoa. So I was hunting for some DK sock yarn because, of course, you want nylon and sock yarn. I made that mistake early on in my knitting career, knitting socks for when Brenton was my then boyfriend. I knit him a pair of socks, and I used Madeline Tosh sock yarn. Like the label said, sock yarn. But I didn't know anything about, like, there should be nylon in sock yarn. It was 100% merino. I just assumed that it was called sock yarn, so it was meant to knit socks. He wore holes in the bottom of those socks so fast. So I mended them and patched them. They still create holes. They might need to be retired soon. I mean, they're almost 9 years old now. But, yeah. Made that mistake. Won't do that again. And size 15 feet, yeah. I was a little bit upset. Not at him, at the yarn, at my own self. So, Legacy Fiber Arts has a DK weight sock yarn that is it has nylon and merino in it. So it's 75-25. And they have some Christmas themes. So this is Bernard. I don't know if that's focusing too well. Bernard, inspired by the character Bernard from the movie The Santa Claus, which is one of my absolute favorite Christmas movies. I remember going the Thanksgiving weekend the year it came out and seeing it at the theaters. So, and sadly this isn't a really pretty cake because when I went to wind it, you know how sometimes you get a skein that just isn't nice on the hank, and you get it there and it just keeps like snagging and you're like, what? That was this one. So half of it got wound on my winder and the other half I had to hand wind. So these will be the first ones I cast on. And I am super excited because they also sell minis. So I got some white minis so I can do contrast. I don't know if I'm going to do the heels too, but definitely toes and cuffs. I'll measure because this is my first time doing DK weight socks. So I want to make sure I have enough yarn. Then I got one more. This one is called Scott Calvin, which is Tim Allen's character in The Santa Claus. So yeah, I got those. So I'm excited to cast those on. But to cast them on, I've been thinking about them for days. That's another reason why I wanted to get those stripey socks done so I could cast on these DK ones. I needed size 4 needles. And of course I have lots of size 4 double point. Well, not lots, but I have size 4 double points and whatever. But I really enjoy Flexi Flips knitting socks. So I went on the Wool and Honey website and picked up some size 4 Flexi Flips. So this is the first time I've shown them what they look like not on a sock. So it's like a really long double point with a little bit of cable in the middle. And it's so funny feeling like brand new ones because there's more polish on the needle. So I'll be looking forward to casting those on tonight with those. And then since I was already ordering, I dropped it, rolled away. Since I was already ordering one set, I went ahead and got a new set of size 1s, which is 2.5 millimeter, because I've been noticing that my tips are getting a little bit more. I use these a lot. So my tips were getting a little bit worn, and one of the cables where they're joining is a little bit twisty. And you know, like the wonderful thing about Addies, like, yes, they're a little bit expensive. However, there is a lifetime warranty on them. And I've exchanged Addie needles for new sets several times, and there's no questions. Like, you go to the shop that you bought them at, hey, I got cut off there. I don't know why. My phone still has just a little bit of battery. But I can't plug it in because my microphone's plugged in there. So I'll make this real quick. I've never had any questions about exchanging my Addies if there's an issue. I say, you know, the cord's coming out a little bit from the join, or this, you know, whatever's happened. One time one snapped really easily on normal use and they replaced it, no questions asked. So I just take it to the shop and they give me new ones. And Wool and Honey is about 2 hours from me, so I didn't generally just put a little note in there and send it to them, and they'll send me new ones. So no problems. They're great. Well, that's kind of about it. My goal this week is to get some DK weight socks on the needles and off the needles. I really want to block this, but it's kind of hard to block one-armed. So we'll see what happens. I will definitely be working on some other things. I don't know if working with bigger yarn instead of fingering is going to affect my shoulder at all. We will see. So a little bit of knitting, probably a lot more reading this week, and wrangling of the kids. So I hope you all have a great week. I hope that you're making and doing something for you every day, even if it's for 10 minutes. And I'll see you next time. Also, if you wouldn't mind, like, follow, share, comment, that would be great. Thanks. See you next time.